In this week's episode, we have our first interview ever, and it's a big one. But first, local news, weather, and rocket information. We're coming to you this week from Port Canaveral, Florida, and you're watching News at the Beach. Hi, and welcome to another new and exciting fun-filled episode of News at the Beach. Today is Saturday, April 27th. I'm Jeff Kenny, Space Surfer, joined by none other than
Jessica Kelly.
And our sponsors today, Bruno's Pizzeria, Long Dogger's Restaurant, Mike's Seaside Auto Repair, and Green Glove's Garden and Landscaping.
And we're bringing you an XL episode of News at the Beach. We have our first interview, and it's a big one. We have local survivalist Shell Armogida, a Brevard County resident, competing on the newest season of Naked Afraid XL, and she's here to tell us more about it. But first, let's get to the news. Back to Jeff with the weather.
Well, we've got a dry pattern continuing throughout this week. Temperatures remaining in the 80s. Unfortunately, not much rain forecasted for the week.
As a special reminder, there's no driving on the beaches of Cocoa Beach. And we have plenty of Airbnbs. No need to camp out in the lighthouse at the mini golf.
And now for your week in space with Jessica.
Hi, we had 2 launches last week, both of which were SpaceX, one of which was the company's 300th Falcon booster landing to date. Look for undocking of SpaceX Dragon tomorrow afternoon, making way for what we've all been waiting for, the Boeing Starliner.
We'll have our hearts in our throats on that one.
NASA astronauts Butch and Suni will be crewing the first ever Boeing Starliner to the International Space Station. This allows for redundant crew support as our country marches back to the moon and eventually Mars.
We can't wait.
This week we have 2 launches. First up, we have SpaceX Starlink on Wednesday, May 1st at 9:43 p.m. And then the one we've all been waiting for, crew flight test. Starliner set for liftoff on Monday, May 6th at 10:34 p.m. Ricky is my dog, he's a big old boy. Loves to jump for balls, likes to play with toys. When you kiss and hug him, he's full of joy. That's our Ricky boy.
And now for what to do that's new in Cocoa Beach.
We have a date night recommendation. Hella Gal with Ron Texera is playing at the Heidi's Jazz Club Saturday, May 4th. That's going to be a great night for dinner and a dance.
And there's not exactly a lot going on in Cocoa Beach this week, which we don't necessarily mind. A nice quiet week. We do have SpongeBob SquarePants at the Cocoa Playhouse, and that's May 3rd.
We also have the Cape Canaveral Friday Fest this Friday, May 3rd from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m.
We also have the 3rd annual Space Coast Grom Fest. That's held Saturday, May 4th at Pelican Park in Satellite Beach. Look for street vendors, a sample sale, and most especially a surf contest, with all proceeds benefiting the Space Coast Board Riders Club.
And here I am with
Tyler DeClerc.
Hi Tyler, where are you from?
I'm from Cocoa Beach, Florida.
All right, and I'm here today with Flo, and you're from?
Austria, Europe.
Hey, it's Gary. I'm from Kenansville, and I'm just out here checking out babes.
Nick Rodolfi. I live here in Cocoa Beach.
And you're from?
Miami, Florida.
My name's Dan. I'm from Maine.
Your name again?
Mark.
Where are you from, Mark?
Winter Haven.
And have you ever seen the show Naked and Afraid?
I have.
And if you could bring any one survivalist item, what would you bring?
Probably one of those multi-tools. Things got 10 things in it: knife, hammer, screwdriver, something like that.
One item. Does a good friend count?
That's just fine.
Your fire starter.
Have you ever seen Naked and Afraid?
Oh, I've been both.
Probably a blanket.
A blanket?
Yeah.
What would you bring?
Support crew.
And if you could go to outer space or be on an episode of Naked Afraid, what would you do?
I go to outer space. I'd do that. Let's try that out.
Outer space.
Outer space?
Yeah.
Oh, outer space.
Would you rather be on Naked and Afraid or go to outer space?
If I could win a Camaro.
Do you have a favorite car?
One that's running and is comfortable and there's a lot of space in the back.
Mine currently, the Nissan Pathfinder.
Nissan Pathfinder.
1970 Chevelle.
Camaro, 69 Camaro.
The answer's always Camaro.
Duh.
I'm Ricky's sister Lucy. I'm sweet like Tutti Frutti. I'm scared of everything around, but I'll kick Ricky's booty. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode, we want to give a special thank you to Shell from Naked and Afraid. Check out her episode. It's the Naked and Afraid XL on May 12th at 8 p.m.
That's right. And if you have someone that you would like to have us interview for our show, have them reach out to us at the link below. We can go surfing, even teach them how to surf. Please like and subscribe to our channel.
If you see our stickers around town, let us know. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye. Thanks for joining us.
What's your favorite vape juice?
Camaro.
Stay tuned for our first interview with Shell from Naked and Afraid XL. So here we are, News at the Beach. We have our first guest. We're joined today by Shell Armogida. She's going to be on Naked and Afraid XL coming up May 12th at 8 p.m. on the Discovery Channel. Now, Shell was previously on season 17, episode 1 of Naked and Afraid, and she successfully completed her challenge. Thanks for joining us today, Shell.
Thank you for having me.
So I have some friends in MIMS. I don't know too much about MIMS. I'm hoping you can tell me more. They're actually up in Quail Haven.
Know where Quail Haven is. I actually drive past it on the 1 many times a day.
Okay.
So MIMS is a very small town, north of Titusville, east or west of Kennedy Space Center. And it's such a small town to where there's only one single stoplight. So it's a very small community. Word spreads fast, and I mean it's just a small coastal town.
Is that where you were born?
No, that's not where I was born. I'm originally from Western Washington, so the Pacific Northwest.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What brought you here?
My husband's job did. He works out at KSC.
Oh, okay. Do you miss it out there?
I do. I really do like Florida. I have lots of family down here. I'm Puerto Rican, so this is much closer to kind of that region, of course, for sure. And so I do very well with the heat, and I love Florida life. But I do miss the Pacific Northwest. It's very special.
You came to us here with a good PSR rating, right?
Yes.
So do you have any siblings?
I do. I have a brother and a sister.
Okay, because we were kind of wondering, when we saw you on the show, we noticed like this guy getting in the water with crocodiles, and you seem to have this like, well, you know, he might be adventurous and he might be stupid kind of attitude toward things.
Yes, incredibly brave and incredibly stupid at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm a very laid back person. I'm also very accepting of just like all personality types. I'm a peacemaker. And I'm a person who's a very strong, like partner, teamwork person. So as far as teamwork goes, I like to kind of let people live and thrive in the environment that I feel like they need to live and thrive in. And for Cole, he thrives and does well in a very just kind of contentious, action-packed, kind of crazy Texan environment, and that's just really what he did out there. And so it was definitely my goal to be like supportive in the way that he lives while maybe trying to like watch out for him.
So we noticed the climate there was like, it's obviously South Africa, but you guys weren't burned up.
I mean, I wasn't, no. I have a pretty good skin tone. I also accustomed my skin to the Florida sun, of course, which is very powerful, very hot. So the sun down there, I wouldn't necessarily say I feel like was any like hotter than our region. And it was drier, so it was more of a dry heat, which is, I feel like, a lot more tolerable than the humidity. And I was coming from humidity here. So I honestly didn't have any issues with like the sun or the climate.
So living up in MIMS, you mentioned you live on a farm and you're an egg and poultry farmer?
Yeah.
And what exactly is it a self-sustaining farm?
No, so a self-sustaining farm would be like a homestead.
Okay.
And they're a little bit different. So a homestead is like for a self-sufficient purpose. And I actually was raised on a homestead where we like grew our own food and then we bring it in and we consume it ourselves. We give some away to the neighbors and family and stuff. But that's more of a self-sufficient state. A farm is essentially something that you would do for like a profit, like as a business. And so I do sell eggs from as small as quail all the way up to as large as emu and everything in between, except for peacocks. We don't have peacocks. And my favorite are geese, by the way. They are amazing creatures. And then we also sell dressed poultry. We sell quail, turkey, and chicken.
Yeah, we saw you were hatching goose eggs like recently.
Very recently. It's goose season right now. So spring, spring is like calving season and stuff like that. Well, it's also hatching
Mother
season.
goose.
Yep, Mother Goose Jemima. She's on a nest right now. I hope that it hatches supposed to hatch in about 3 to 4 days. So we're crossing our fingers for that. But yeah, it's exciting.
So we've noticed, obviously, working on a farm, you have quite a bit of regimentation routine to yourself. Did you utilize that routine, regimentation to survive?
Yeah, absolutely. Routine has been a huge part of my life for a long time. I'm also prior service Air Force, and so being a person who's in the military, routine is just something that's kind of like beat into you pretty much, and so I definitely utilize routine and organization pretty much in all aspects of life. I think it's very useful, and I did that out there. I'm also an endurance athlete, so I used a lot of the strategy for a lot of the races I do. I'm a triathlete, kind of like slow and steady, don't overdo it, don't burn out quick, because then at the end you're not going to either make it or you're going to have no energy. So I do utilize a lot of those things in order to make sure that you can make it healthy and strong to the end.
On the previous seasons, the contestants chose different survival items. Can you tell me a little bit about the survival item that you brought? Yeah.
So I brought my tomahawk, and it's something that I have a lot of experience with. And it's also a very multi-purpose tool. I love it a lot, and something that makes it a little bit different than like a hatchet, which is what people would compare a tomahawk to, is that the head of the tomahawk can actually slide down the shaft, which is it's a wooden, I believe it's a hickory handle, and so I can totally remove that and use it as a hand tool for different bushcraft purposes. And we also used it to skin and process the croc, the fish, and the eland out in Africa. And so you can use it a lot like an ulu. I don't know if you're familiar with an ulu, but it's a tool the indigenous people in like the northern Canadian areas and also Alaska will utilize to like process seal and fish and elk and stuff like that. And so you can really use it a lot like an ulu, and it's just a very handy multi-purpose tool. And I'm super happy that we had it out there and we both really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Now, as for the necklace, is that just a microphone?
Yes. It's just a microphone.
Okay. Sometimes when people will ask if that might be like a GPS device or something of that sort.
Not that I'm aware of, but as far as I know, it's just a microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or you can stash snacks in there like Skittles.
No, I wish.
All right. Moving to the beach. Are you more of like you said you're a triathlete, so
Yes.
I'm guessing you're more of an activity type person, but do you like to go to the beach and just hang out?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
And your favorite activities?
So I am a surfer. I've been surfing for most of my life. I also like boogie boarding. Why not? Catching a wave in any manner is fun.
We love boogie
I love
boarding.
swimming. I'll do a lot of ocean swimming, which I do for triathlons as well. And so, I'll do activity, but I do relax on the beach too. I love the beach, and I'll do all the things at the beach.
So what beach did you grow up going to?
So being from the Pacific Northwest, there's this beach that's somewhat close to where I grew up. It's called Browns Point. And it's in the Puget Sound, if you're familiar. So if you look at Washington as a shape, there's a body of water that kind of infiltrates down. It's about east of the Olympic Peninsula and west of most of the main cities like Seattle, Tacoma. And so it's like an inlet kind of little area that has very soft, kind of silty sand, where I used to do a lot of clam harvesting and hunting, and there's lots of starfish. You can see the orcas from out there, and so it's just a very beautiful beach. No waves there. You have to go to the Pacific coast for the waves, which is what I would do many times a year, especially when I got older, as a teenager and young adult. I would drive, it was about a 2-hour drive to the coast to a beach called Westport, and there's pretty decent waves there, believe it or not. People don't really think of that far north as a place where you can do much surfing, but you can.
Now,
Wetsuit weather.
Very much so. Full suit, and the hoodie is a must, I have to say. Lots of people wear booties and stuff, full booties, but I never wore booties because I just felt like I couldn't get a very good grip on the board, and so my feet would just freeze.
was there someone in your life that mentored you in this type of foraging?
Yeah, I've had a variety of different mentors over the years. I'm predominantly self-taught and self-researched as well, and a lot of the actual intentional research came as an older child / teenager and into my adult years. But when I was younger, the homestead that I grew up on actually backed to a very vast wilderness area, a forested area. And my brother, sister, and I, we'd go out, you know, it was back in the 80s, 90s when kids just like ran around, you know, there was no, you know, huge amount of supervision a lot, which was good, and we were fine out there. And we'd run around like wild forest children, where we would be running around barefoot, and we'd climb trees, and we'd make shelters, and I'd just pick and eat all kinds of things that I had no idea what they were. Never got sick though, so I, you know, had some sort of an instinct for that. But I definitely grew a love of the outdoors through a lot of those experiences.
Were you in any school clubs like 4-H or FAA?
Yeah, FFA. I did FFA for years.
Did
Loved
you raise
it.
a pig or?
No, I never did any programs like that.
Okay.
I wish I had though. I had a lot of friends who did. I'd volunteer at our local fair, like with the goats and ducks and stuff like that every summer, and I just loved it. It was a very agriculture heavy fair, which I fully support and promote. And so yeah, no, I learned a lot through FFA. And then when I did later go to college, I ended up taking quite a few agriculture classes, horticulture and stuff like that.
So you were in Washington until like your late teens, 20s?
Into my early 20s.
And that's where you learned to surf?
That is where I learned to surf, yes.
Oh, wow. Because I thought for sure you would have just said that you learned to surf in Florida.
No.
Puerto Rico.
What's your favorite Florida beach?
Playa Linda.
Playa Linda?
Yes.
Okay. And do you go to Puerto Rico, or where
Yeah, I
exactly
do.
are you from in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so I have family all over the
Okay.
island. I have
We go to Aguadilla
literally
quite a
all
bit
over.
in that area,
I have,
so.
yes. Yes, I actually am supposed to be visiting family in a place called Las Piedras, which is like a smaller mountainous town on the eastern side of the island. And so, yeah, I mean, it's literally most of the towns you can think of, I have family in, so it's a very small island.
Have like any memories, like that crazy stories from going to the beach that you remember, like any trips or anything that you want to share?
Oh, there was one time though, I had this really large, crappy longboard that I'd always bring. It was like this 11-foot thick plastic, all plastic, longboard that would cruise on the top of my Jeep. And I was driving to the coast one day, a very windy day, and I always had it strapped down with bungee cords. And bungee cord is not a great idea because the stuff just flops and it flops right out. And so in the middle of a drive down, the thing flew off my vehicle and almost hit the car behind me, which thank goodness it didn't. And then almost flew, of course, into the water. And I think that was probably one of the crazier instances of a drive down to the beach.
How many people work on your farm?
So it's just me. It's me and my husband. My husband, the poor guy, he has a full-time 40 to 60 hour a week job at KSC, and then when he comes home, he works on the farm.
Nice.
And then weekends he works on the farm. So, you know, I always kind of say, farmers, we don't have a day off, we work 7 days a week, and we do. But my poor husband's not even a farmer, and he still works 7 days a week.
Part-time farmer, full-time husband.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the challenges you're doing obviously aren't for the weak of heart. Other than the food, what sustains you when you're on a challenge?
Yeah, so I'm a person of faith, and I definitely dive deep into prayer, and I did a lot of meditation when I was out in Africa. I'd have like certain times a day where when the sun was just right, kind of rising, it was like almost like 7:30, 8 a.m. and I had this little spot that I had cleared, and I'd sit down and I'd do just like some deep meditation and just kind of like recenter myself. And I just feel like God really, truly can and does strengthen our spirits in order to be able to push through a lot of the toughest times in life. And that definitely occurred out there for me, and I could definitely see a lot of answer to prayer. I actually just did a podcast with Cole yesterday and was saying that I prayed heavily for months before I went out to the challenge for a partner who'd be very strong with hunting, and that's exactly what I got. So I was kind of like, hey, listen, like it works, it's coming true, and I'm just very thankful.
Yeah, he seemed like a really good partner.
He was.
I just noticed a lot of times that
once or twice.
you're forced to like have the camera in your face even when you're very tired.
Yes.
It seems like that would be really tough because you're
It
trying
is
to
tough.
answer things in a nice way, and I want to go walk, but you must sometimes be miserable.
Yes. Oh, I mean, you're miserable for a lot of it, actually. Yeah, you're very uncomfortable. It's not a comfortable scenario at all. And for me, I just made sure to like breathe and just take a moment, you know, and a lot of times I would also think before I speak, which I know seems super simple, But I do feel like a lot of times people just kind of like, you know, word vomit, especially to the camera. And for me, I really try to sit and go, what exactly do I want to say, you know, before I start saying things or something. So I just think it's important to be intentional about what you say and do, especially with a partnership that's like very crucial. And
You definitely did that on the show. I mean, you definitely kept it together. Yeah.
I did my best.
I mean, you had a point in time when you had a medical crew like assisting you on the show, and you were like, I'm good.
Oh, I was good. Yeah, no, it was really just a formality at that point, and I already knew I was good. But, you know, there's got to be drama, so there you go.
Okay. All right. Beyond that, I was hoping you could expand on your overall hopes, goals, aspirations that you hope to come from the experience.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay. You just see what happens and we'll take it from
Yeah,
there.
the challenge was the challenge
Okay.
for really the challenge's sake. There are a lot of people who do have like aspiration goals. I know some people like they want to be like survival teachers, you know, so this is their way to like get out there and be a survival teacher, or they want to like further their career, or, you know, whatever other goals they might have. I didn't have any of those. I actually would have preferred for the entire challenge to not have been filmed, but I couldn't exactly have it my way because that's what it is. It's a TV show. So for me, it was all about the challenge and about like the spiritual journey that like I was able to take, and it was a beautiful thing, and Africa was amazing, and I was just very blessed in my partnership and blessed in a lot of ways, and yeah, I mean, it was just all around an amazing experience, you know, and that it does include a extreme degree of like suffering and pain, honestly. Not really my thing.
And you were a big time Naked and Afraid fan?
Yeah, and I was a big time fan, and I knew that the challenge was right up my alley. It was right up my comfort zone, you know, and I had a lot of skills and survival skills that could be used on the show, you know, on the challenge. So I had filled out the application very quickly, and I didn't even fill it all out, honestly, and I hit submit just to like shut my husband up, honestly, like get him to quit pestering me to go on the show. And lo and behold, they contacted me a couple months later for an interview, which I thought was a scam because I didn't actually, like, you know, I never considered that this would be a thing that somebody would ever like call me back for or anything like that. It just wasn't a thought in my mind. And so when they did, and I ended up doing the first interview and realizing this is a real thing, it got real very quickly.
Yeah.
So.
I noticed you have your Columbia shirt on.
Yeah, I do.
Very nice. How I know we can't talk about any of that part, but how did the two compare to each other? South Africa versus
They were
Colombia?
Total night and day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In weather and everything.
And a lot. Almost the entire challenge.
Really?
Yes.
And so you were away from your husband for quite some time.
I was, yes, because I actually ended up in Colombia and started filming almost exactly 2 months after I had gotten home from my challenge in Africa. That's a very, very close, like, back-to-back challenges. I don't recommend. I'm glad I did it because that was definitely like the path that I was placed on, and I believe like I was meant to do those things in that order. However, it's very, very hard on your health. It's very hard on your body. It's almost like stupid to like do back-to-back challenges like that because the level of like depletion that occurs not just in your body but even in like your actual bones from a challenge of like a 21-day challenge, yes, malnutrition and just a lot of things that occur. You really need more than 2 months. You know, you need a good like 4, 5, 6 months
to recover and then
recovery.
prepare.
What do you do to recover?
So I mean, I ate as healthy as I could, you know, and I also did a lot of like supplementation. I take like
You're big on mushrooms.
Yeah, medicinal mushrooms, those
We've
sorts of
been
things,
taking those
lion's
lately.
mane,
You tell
all
everyone about
kinds.
those.
They're amazing. Yes, totally. I wish I could still forage my own. There's not as much down here as there were in the Pacific Northwest, unfortunately.
Much more up there.
It was so amazing up there. But I mean, there's some stuff down here, and so yeah. So I was doing a lot of those things and just doing my best to like gain weight, which I was able to actually gain quite a bit of weight before Colombia, and so I did feel physically strong enough, but I was definitely concerned just doing back-to-back challenges.
We noticed that your partner on the Columbia episode, or on the previous episode, was concerned about your sustainability through like the challenge.
Yeah.
Being as that the XL is 40 days going into it, did you do extra preparation?
I mean, I prepared as much as I could in 2 months.
That's as much.
You know what I mean?
You had to crunch. Okay.
So yeah.
Puerto Rican rice and beans.
I mean, I had plenty. I had lots of that.
Yeah.
Delicious. Ooh, I want some.
What did you miss most about home? Besides your husband, of course.
I missed my husband, the farm. For the 21 challenge, for the 21-day challenge in Africa, I missed things I'd say less than I did for other things that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
So I think I was just very mentally ready and very in Africa absorbing that I didn't think much about home. And so there wasn't a ton of missing that occurred, and I don't want that to sound like callous really or mean, but I was there, I was present, I was doing my thing. You know, thinking about home is not really conducive, and actually that's what a lot of people, they tap out of the challenges because they miss their family, you know, they miss their situation, and they just, all they're doing is pining for home the whole time, yeah. And so that was something I never wanted to really do, so I would just kind of focus on the situation. You know, I kept my friends and family, you know, in my prayers and stuff, but other than that, it was just like, okay, I'm here and I'm present.
So were you prepared to do a tap out if you had to, like physically, but you were like, no, you were like gung-ho, not.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna tap out.
Not at all. Good.
You have to go into it with the mindset that
Yes, you do. You really should. And honestly, that is truly the best mindset of like, that's not an option. And if it really isn't, because if this were a real survival situation where, say, your plane crashed and you were going to be out there for who knows how long, well, you can't tap out of life. I mean, you could. Yeah. I mean, let's not go there. But the thing is in a survival situation, in a survival mentality, truly, you have to push through. You know, there is no tap out button. Right. So it is best to just keep that mentality of like, no, I'm here. I'm going to be present, and I'm just going to cruise through, and at least I know it's only 21 days.
And then you have no regrets.
Yep, no regrets.
Yeah, that's cool. Obviously, when you're out there, you can't be thinking about cheeseburgers and pizza.
Yeah.
But was there like a food or a thing that you wanted to get back to?
So
or like a comfort that you just wanted?
Yeah, my top favorite foods are all starchy items, so potatoes, plantains, squash. And those were the things that I wanted the most, and so I was definitely looking forward to those things. Also green, because the type of season that we were in Africa was fall into winter, and so that season, it's like a dry season, and there's not a whole lot of green. So, you know, it was mainly like meat and protein, and you do start missing those things.
How about like a soft, clean towel?
Yeah, I mean,
or like a hot, warm towel.
I'd say more like showers, honestly.
Showers, or just the showers.
Yeah, showers, baths.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, what do they give you when you get off the challenge to eat? Doritos? I think they handed. I've seen chips before and Oreos.
Yeah, those kinds of things. We actually had. They were our producer and the guys we were out there with were kind enough to have somebody like fix us a meal. So we had a meal.
Oh,
it was like a little lunch meal.
Okay.
But you probably can't eat that easy like after that.
Oh no, we did.
Okay, you can.
Okay. Yeah, we did.
All right, awesome.
Thanks so much for stopping by and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me.
And yep, check out Shell again this season. She's going to be on Naked and Afraid XL. That's May 12th on Discovery Channel at 8 p.m.